I don't even know what to say to start this one. Welcome to Scarefest. I'm just too excited to get in. I'm going to get straight over to Nemesis. It's a quiet weekday. I've managed to... Well, I've got a day off today. So, I just want to get in, and I want to get on as many rides as possible. What am I going to say first? What I'm looking forward to, Hex is back. It came out of nowhere a couple of weeks ago. The Thursday, a video was put up, and then on the Friday, Hex officially reopened. The following Friday, it did have an issue on the Saturday, but it reopened yesterday, and that opens at 11, so I'm going to get on it. There is one ride closure today, Vekoma. Shame, but Burial Ground is open, and you've got 6 other scare mazes, 2 family orientated, and 3 Daz games exists. 3 sort of scary ones, and then, you know, thrill mazes, and then Daz games just kind of is there, and I want to get it out of the way first. It'll be interesting to have my own opinion on it. Anyway, let's get to Nemesis. Efficient operations this morning. Here we go. Helix. Wow, fast this morning. Oh! Nemesis! Oh, it was just the best experience to be back on there, honestly. You'll know me, Nemesis is my ride, it's my coaster, and I absolutely love it. You know, it is a lot of people's special ride, but there's a good reason for it. Very smooth. I didn't notice a rattle. First ride of the day, front row. How lucky is that? You know, I was screaming John Wardley working his magic around there. It feels like your feet are going to crack against the rocks, but you do get more near misses, especially with the supports, since the retracking, because it is smoother, and you know, it wasn't quite as forceful as it was last time, but I think it's because I got on it at 1 o'clock last time, whereas it's only just opened, so yeah, you know, I can let it off. I'll definitely come back later, but I'm about to go on Curse at Alton Manor, another really special ride, but later we've got another dark ride, Hex, the Legend of the Towers, which, that is the best impression I've ever done of that. I am the kind of person who does that impression quite a few times, but yeah, that was also another one of my rides. That ride, this and Nemesis when I came in 2021, just, that's why I'm an enthusiast. The 2 reasons I'm an enthusiast. Nemesis is half of that, so it's always emotional, and it'd been so long, and I just can't talk about it enough. But let's go on Curse at Alton Manor. Ooh, the smells are stronger now. God, it is literally warm.
On the 31st of December,
1891.
Mr. and Mrs. Alton held a party to celebrate the turning of a new year. However, on the final chime of midnight, the manor appeared to be struck by a storm
of supernatural proportion.
The use of mobile phones.
Right, the Curse at Alton Manor. The first of my fantastic dark rides to experience today. You know what? The trommels broke, and also I noticed as well, one of the dolls in the paper doll's house didn't pop up, it just had the strobe light. However, I did notice a couple of things that effects seem to be different. The sound effects for both the demon and the big hand. I mean, the big hand wasn't working on opening day, but they seem louder. I don't know if they are, but they do seem it. As well as that, the other thing I noticed, the wheel that spins on like the sort of carriage that Emily comes out of, that seemed that didn't spin before. I don't think it did on opening day. It did when it was dual, but I thought they just took the motor out. But no, that spins again. So that's really interesting that that's happened. Yeah, I just loved getting back on this. I do have a special place for this, especially, you know, getting to experience it when the day that Jewel closed, and then of course when this opened. I did it a couple of weeks later, and it's been here for me while Hex has been shut, and it still will be. You know, it's still a great ride. Of course, with Hex opening in just a few minutes, so I'm going to get down there. But yeah, really good ride. I'll see if I can. I'm sure there was something else I noticed, but I'll see if I can think of that later. Right then, heads back, hold tight, here we go. Yeah, that was. It was smooth. I mean, the restraints are very tight, but it was running really smooth. That was Spinball Wizard. Airtime on some of the drops. Near the end, it gets forceful. Like some of the elements, you have to brace yourself. A really sharp, brilliant Marrow spinning coaster. I can't fault it. Right, let's go and do Hex, the Legend of the Towers. Oh, the smells are strong. Oh my god.
As a child and having help, it's a very sort of, they've got it wrong, that's it. Basically, fees of 12, 13, all that sort of thing. And, when the rent was shot, well, you see the building, something like this, and it's spooky. And you're right, it's changed up, the reason why. You want to have like a local club? Exactly where
Right there. See you on the other side.
A vault sealed for 2 centuries.
We started restoration work in the towers, and it was during that period that a number of old artefacts were found, including an old bookcase. That was moved using very traditional archaeological methods. But what we found behind was in fact clearly an archway which had been bricked up. Why was it there? Because all of our research, as these surveys show, there was nothing behind it. Never was anything behind it. So you just looked at it and you can see there's an arch, there's a head, there's the jamb, but it had been bricked up. So the archaeologists very, very carefully, literally with brushes and chisels and with trowels, very carefully raked out the wall to dismantle all of the brickwork and masonry after it had been numbered and photographed, put to one side. We were getting a feel after we moved the first few bricks, we knew there was something behind there that we weren't expecting. And then we found the tunnel behind it. It doesn't make sense in that the architect who designed this would have designed this in a linear way. There should be a star shape. There's never been an entrance to another linear section. There's never been any evidence from the outside. There have been a number of staff who, whether they're from my building team, who have felt cold drafts and felt moisture, condensation on their hands. Equipment malfunctioning.
A tale with a twist.
Guys. Certainly a change of pace in dark rides. Oh, there's more crests. I'm counting all the towers crests. Charles, do the full review of Hex after. Yeah, Gangster Granny the ride and Hex. 2 more dark rides ticked off. Now, I mean, Gangster Granny, I'll just get this review over and done with. That is the most I've enjoyed it, honestly. No queue, everything was working, smells. They didn't seem quite timed to the ride, like some of the smells were very delayed. But, you know, it's a good, there's a few, the physical props I enjoy, that's why I go on that. You know, there are quite a few. It's definitely the least, it's my least favourite dark ride here. It's definitely on a very small budget, and small budget dark rides can be done well. But, yeah, this one, it just, yeah, I just don't really see it lasting, so I'll make the most of it. But Hex. It's Hex. To go back on Hex was emotional. I actually almost teared up in the pre-show. Like the second pre-show. Yeah, I will do a full in-depth review of it after I've come off it again, because I'm about to go on it again. But yeah. So I'll do a full in-depth review because I just want to get on it again as soon as possible. Hex, the legend of the towers. Yeah, I've just got off my second ride. Incredible. That's the word I can describe. My favourite dark ride. Again, this is my dark ride. So if you don't know what Hex is, it's a Vekoma Madhouse. You might see my reviews of The Haunting. I've been going on The Haunting a lot recently. And I still will. I still love The Haunting. You know, I love them actually really close. Haunting was there, probably one of the only reasons I coped while this was shut. But it's back. And hopefully they continue to do the maintenance on it that it needs. It is a complex beast in a way, this ride. I know Nemesis, but you know, it is a complex beast. The first, so you get batched into the actual indoor queue, immersive lighting, fantastic. I think it's been toned down, all the lighting since last week, to be honest. And then it's similar to The Haunted in a way. You've got 3 pre-shows. I am comparing it to The Haunted. That was actually the first one of these 2 to open. 1996, this was the year 2000, and The Haunted was actually the second one in the world. That's why it's so small, I think, because it was on a bit more of a budget. This is the biggest one in the world, 78 people at a time, so absolutely incredible that was. So yeah, the first pre-show, it's just that, you know, it's a tale with a twist, and you've got the 15th Earl of Shrewsbury on the painting. And it says the story you're about to hear is that of the 15th Earl of Shrewsbury, Charles Talbot. And it is the most intriguing story for the towers. It is based on a real local legend. There's obviously some bits added for the ride's purpose, but it is based on the chained oak tree is real. And this was like, most of it is actually the legend. So, yeah, you know, investigations into the towers, well, archaeological work into the towers eventually turned into the discovery of the towers' biggest secret, the ancient vault. So the second pre-show, you've got you watch the actual pre-show video, which amazing, gives me goosebumps every time. And the first time and that time, I almost teared up watching it. So yeah, the premise is the Earl meets an old woman on the way back to the towers, and she begs him for the charity of a coin. He doesn't give her the coin, he doesn't give her any money, he cruelly dismisses her, and then drives off. She screams a curse, that for every branch that fell from the oak tree, a member of the Earl's family will die. And later that very same night, a ferocious storm raged, and one mighty bolt of lightning sent a single branch to fall from the old oak tree. And true to the old woman's prophecy, a member of the Earl's family suddenly and mysteriously died. So that's the pre-show. The story didn't end there because you then see that the Earl chained the branch in a vault, conducting bizarre experiments to finally attempt to banish the curse forever. And yeah, that is what was discovered behind the ancient bookcase. Then you're into the third and final pre-show in the Octagon Room. That's where all the special effects are. So, you know, it's where, so you go in, and that you can hear the generator whirring. You've got sparks just shoot out of that. It didn't used to be that big of an effect, but it is now. And then you go, you look to the side, you can see the old woman stood there chanting and cursed that curse that she screamed on the Earl. And then the strobe lights that are quite intense. The sound effects are really loud. I mean, they've improved all the speakers in there in the ride and the pre-shows. And then, yeah, you'll go into the bookcase. Yeah, that's when you actually leave the towers. So you go in, you're in another corridor, you turn left, and as you go through the doorway, that's when you're out of the towers and you're into the show building, when it's seamless, it's all like the brickwork, and it's fantastic. Then you're into the vault, which is brilliant. You know, the soundtrack, it's my favourite soundtrack anywhere in the UK. Goosebumps every time. The theming is beautiful in there. It blends really well with the towers. You've got the chained oak branch in the middle, all the potions on shelves, all the big pipes and spark, there's like a fake spark effect, so there's all these like coloured lights going down the tubes, and there's just everything. And then it starts moving. It is the best Vekoma Madhouse since the it was anyway. It was perfect, and I still think it is. I can see why people don't like the disco ball effect, but yeah. So yeah, the branch is sort of sparkling, and then as you actually go over, as you feel like you're inverting, the big face of the evil curse appears, like the sort of personification of the curse. Then at the end of the ride, you actually hold upside down, and there's also at the beginning and the end, you like tilt. Well, I was sat on the right hand side, going through the doors both times, and you just get pulled forward, but the room moves in sync to the actual gondola, so you don't know. So the gondola moves a bit, and then the room moves. And at the end, you got all the strobe light and the red eyes come on. The branch has like a fibre optic effect in it, and that's when you've got that sparkly light, which I like. I can see why you wouldn't, and it's not a big deal, really. I mean, just to have the ride back, it's been emotional to get on it twice. It is my ride at the end of the day. But yeah, and there is also two, well, obviously that's the actual Staffordshire crest up there, but there's two in the ride, I think. Anyway, there's one on one of the walls in the Madhouse, and then there's one before you go into the Madhouse. But the way this was pulled off, like, the interior of the show building, now when you exit you do see the exterior of the shed, but I think that's just because the attic goes into the conservatory at the moment. Like, that's where the entrance and the key to the attic is, which I'll be doing later. I can't wait for that. I'm about to do Amigos actually, because it'll be open now. But really, yeah, my favourite dark ride, full stop. It's brilliant, it really is. But yeah, inside the show building, all the walls are done proper brickwork, so it's seamless, it really is. Obviously when you're on the ride you can't know that you're not in the towers, but all the pillars and the ceiling, it's got all these beautiful patterns on it, and it feels like you're in the towers, and you know, you got the big clocks, and it's almost steampunk in a way, because of those science experiments. But yeah, the queue's dying down. I will do Amigos now. I want to get that in Trick or Treat Town done as soon as they've opened. So yeah, Hex, the Legend of the Towers. I'm genuinely pleasantly surprised by that. You can tell by my voice. That's so much fun, honestly. Like I'd heard mixed reviews about this, but for kids, like that's better than the dungeon. I'm gonna say it's better. Like as someone my age experiencing it, it's better than the dungeon. They've fixed all the blank corridors. It's very bright UV. I mean, it is the most colourful attraction I think I've ever done. But it's brilliant. It's brilliant. You know, I was going through all the scenes. You know, so it begins. You go through this like Mexican town, and it's unrecognisable. That's where like the pre-bit was for the dungeon, where you used to queue up. Unrecognisable. You got theming like leaves and stuff on the ceiling, or windows, and you have to find a key. So you have to look in all the bins to find the key to get into the afterlife. And then you go through into what was previously the judge scene. I am going to say which scene it was in the dungeon, just for comparison. You can kind of recognise it. There's like green ropes, which basically leads to the boat ride. It's not used in this, unfortunately, but I did know that before. You know, I kind of had a feeling it wasn't going to be used, unfortunately. So this is the 5th thing that's been in this building, but the first that doesn't use the boat ride. Although the dungeon was the boat ride was quite a small part of it, to be fair, even though it fills most of the building. But how they've used the space, brilliant. So then you have to find all the ingredients to put in a cooking pot, so you can get to the next room. So the actors, because the actors do an incredible job in here. Like it is literally a family dungeon. It is operated the same. So you go into a scene, and then you experience that scene and the actors in there. So yeah, you have to find them all on the shelves and in drawers, and there's like a vase of flowers that you've got to put in there. Then you're through and you go down this long corridor, but there are like a few pictures. There's like there's an actor with like a puppet skeleton, so it's all lit up in UV, so it looks like there's an actually skeleton walking. And she says like these are like the pictures of my family, because it is part of Mexican culture that they'll have part of their house they'll put up like all the generations of the family. So you walk past a few of them. It is that was basically the corridor that if you couldn't go on the boat ride in the dungeon, you used to go down there. It leads you into what was previously the torture room. The walls are still the same in there. You've still got a lot of the same theming. But you have to do some dance moves. And yeah, I just couldn't stop smiling through the whole thing. It's great. It's really worth doing this. Especially if you've got kids, they'll love it, honestly. And I don't think the theming looks that low budget. I mean, like I said, they've fixed all the black corridors. So you have to do some dance moves. There's like a cart, which I'm pretty sure was around here when it was the dungeon. They've just put it in there and repainted it. You can still see the doors as well that lead out off the boat ride. So you don't see the boat. You'd never know there was a boat ride in here. But you know, hopefully this will last a couple of years. I don't think the dungeon's going to come back. There is quite a bit of effort put into this. So, and it just seems like a waste to just paint over it all again. So I don't think the dungeon's coming back next year, if I'm honest. And it doesn't. I kind of hope it doesn't. Keep this for another 1-2 years, and then bring back the boat ride and do a whole refurbishment, or just open the Black River next year. That'd be pretty cool. You know, just as an independent dark ride, or theme it a bit and open it as like a temporary dark ride. That's my idea. But yeah, so then you go through and into like a boxing ring, which used to be the Dick Turpin scene. That's unrecognisable. Like, you've got posters on the wall. It is a little bit black in there, you know, the black space, but they've got the boxing rings. They get an adult to go in, and then they have to leave. They have to leave the boxing ring, but then they get a kid in there, and then he holds the fists of the boxer, and then he gets knocked out. The boxer gets knocked out, and we're like, yeah, we all have to cheer on the kid, and then yeah, he wins the fight in the boxing ring. You know, the actor, there was 2 actors in a lot of the scenes as well. Fantastic. Then you go through to what is the final scene, which and the Dick Turpin scene. I think they've just walled off all the seats because it felt like a smaller space in there than it was before. Then you're going through the final scene, which is what used to be the Plague Doctor. Now, there was another scene in the dungeon, but I'll get on to that. So what was the Plague Doctor? You have to sing Barry is a little wormy. he's also very squirmy. That's going to go around in my head for the rest of the day now. And he's basically, they're like, you know, there's the actor with the puppets. That was where as well, because they picks people out like they did in the dungeon. I had to shake the maracas in there. Brilliant. I had a lot of fun with that because, you know, I enjoyed it. I couldn't stop smiling, honestly. So yeah, I had to shake the maracas, and then eventually the worm does appear in it. But before that, when everyone's still sat down, they still use like the effect, like the sort of roach effect. You know how you can feel like something under the seat, and if you've done the dungeons, they actually still use that as Barry's like going and because he pops up in different places in crates and in like a box on the wall and stuff, and then eventually, you know, you can still have that effect, and he comes, he's like he's underneath the seats, and then you can see him under there. Yeah, so that's the final scene. They say you can leave through the Hall of Spirits. You go down a corridor, which is the old Molly Lee scene. That was my favourite scene in the dungeon, but they'd kind of done all they needed to do. So you just go down a corridor. There's actually a few little jump scares of actors in like portrait, like, you know, UV sort of frames, picture frames, and then you head on through. They've still got the squirting gargoyle, which gets you soaked if you put your hand in front of it from the dungeon. So yeah, overall, brilliant scare maze. The first one I've done. Now I'm going to do Trick or Treat Town, and there's the poster for it here. Yeah, brilliant. Honestly, if you've got kids, or even if you're an adult, you'll have a great time in there. Maze 2, good fun. Trick or Treat Town. Honestly, I do think I prefer Amigos, but this is still good. Basically, you go around a town, knock on all the doors of the houses, and they'll give you some Haribo just in the bag that you get given with the experience. Yeah, so it is a good fun walkthrough. You know, the actors are fantastic in here. It is actually built in the other section of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So that used to be the boat ride. This was the Great Glass Elevator. And if you look up in there, and being an enthusiast, I had to. I was looking up. You could see like the trusses where the projectors used to be attached to, because these towers on the top, you can see, are actually really tall. The facade, I like the bottom section with the, you know, the vinyls and where you queue up and watch the pre-show, but yeah, this is just the Charlie facade painted black. But yeah, they completely ripped out the elevators. I don't know if that was when the dungeon was put in or when this was put in, because this was put in 2 years later. But yeah, there's water effects, like the finale. You get jump scared by rain. The finale, you go in to Dracula's castle, and yeah, so some of the actors will be like, "What do you want?" And then you'll just say "Trick or Treat," and they'll be like, "Oh yes, of course." But yeah, you know, it's very colourful, not as bright and garish as Amigos, but still. Yeah, you know, you go down the street and then into the castle section, which they've actually attached a big moon to where part of where the elevator truss was, and you can tell how tall the building is, and it looks really impressive. You know, you've got the gingerbread house with the witch from Hansel and Gretel. Then you've got the one person who does give you a trick, who's like, "No, I'm not giving you anything. What have you got in there, sweets? Is that for me? No? Oh well, I'll squirt you with a water gun then." That's good fun. You know, you've got these big grand gates. The scale of the theme is huge. I would have loved, like Sean said, to have photo opportunities. But yeah, so then you go through into Dracula's castle. You have to wait a bit, and he gives you some sweets, and then he says, "I'll show you a trick later." And then you go through and you push past all these punch bags, and then you exit down the side of the show building for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So another good fun walkthrough ticked off. The most overhated coaster in the UK. It's Rita. Yeah, that was really good. the launch actually really smooth, really punchy, fantastic. The rest of the layout was a little bit jolty and rattly, but you can forgive Rita for being 19 years old. So, yeah, great ride. I can't fault. There's not really much to talk about with this coaster, but I certainly, that launch, well, it's got to be the highlight, isn't it? But yeah, it is one of my favourite, if not my favourite launch, because it just out, like, here we go, let's watch it, way! There we go. I feel like my photo was probably awful, but I'm not buying photos, because I think I closed my eyes just at the moment. I think I blinked when the photo was taken. You know, because the whole layout, you can still feel how fast it is, you know, how the speed of that ride is. It's not the fastest in the UK, far from it. It's not even the fastest in the park, because that's Oblivion. But yeah, still a brilliant coaster, and I always love it, and I don't care what anyone else says. It's almost time for the first scare maze, or fright maze. The Attic, Terror of the Towers. Potentially it's last year. Let's see what's inside the attic. I don't really know what to expect with a lot of these, because obviously spoilers are quite hard to get, so... Wow, yeah, I've got to do my review outside Hex for the setting of the towers. The Attic. I mean, look, I've heard some slightly mixed things because it's been here for 5 years, but that was incredible. Like, a proper traditional free-flow scare mazes, fantastic jump scares. So first you go and watch a pre-show, and there's actually a lot of elements for the Curse at Alton Manor. I'd actually love to see it next year, redo it into a Curse-themed one, because it's done really well. You know, you're going through the attic. It's very similar to the attic scene of the Curse. You've got dolls with glowing red eyes. You've got actors just everywhere, basically. It is a fantastic scare maze, and it's a great way to start. I'm about to do Altonville Mine Tours as my second one. But yeah, starting with the attic, brilliant jump scares. Like, I don't get jump scared very easily. Those got me. Those got me. So, yeah. Yeah, you're just winding around corridors. Of course, that is how scare mazes are designed. You have winding corridors, so you don't know what is going to be around the corner. And, yeah. Fantastic. You know, you get told the legend of the governess's child who was sort of banished to the attic, well, one person was killed and one person took their own life. There's actually a section where you're walking in through the fireplace and you've got all red lighting, and like it's all heat based, so you can actually feel the heat. It's really well put together. I mean, you can't really get better than it actually being inside the towers. I wouldn't be surprised if they did move some of them out of the towers, because, you know, Hex works, you know, it's the armoury, but I think the scare mazes, it would be nice to just walk around. I mean, I did the House and Gardens tour, but I didn't get a chance to do that because it was in the summer. So yeah, but the attic, what a great start, and a really good first impression. Altonville Mine Tours and Compound I'm really looking forward to. Daz Games, not quite as much, but we'll see what my own opinion is on that one. Right then, Fright Maze 2 ticked off. Altonville Man Tours, I've got to say it like that, because the accent's in there. But yeah, so you watch a pre-show and it feels like you're in some sort of crime documentary, like American, like crime, and you know, you got like the cars and all the cheesy music and stuff. And then yeah, the storyline of this is that there was a massacre inside of the mines and 5 teenagers went missing. And as you're going through, you can actually see their bodies strewn across the mines. And that person was discovered to be Tiny. And you're walking through the mines, they can touch you, definitely. You know, I got grabbed on the neck by one of the actors, and they just get really up close to you, like rubbing past you and stuff, like you tight corridors, and it does make it very intense. You know, you've got a section where you're low, the walls are really tight, you've got a section where the ceiling's really low, and you've got to sort of crawl under. That is a lot more, it is a traditional scare maze, it's a similar layout to the attic in terms of like sharp turns, but it's a lot more intense because the actors are really up close, and you're like, oh, there's an actor right there stood in front of me, just comes out of nowhere. So yeah, fantastic scare maze. And then of course you've got the chainsaw, which you can actually smell like the petrol coming off it. yeah, that is quite intense. I didn't really get chased that much because I was like near the front of the group, because the people in front already started running, so I was kind of in front of the chainsaw. But I did look behind, and you know, he starts chasing everyone as you're actually leaving. So yeah, but yeah, the actors in gas masks are just everywhere. You know, fantastic scare maze. All the walls are themed as well. Like, you know, it is immersive. The thing is with these scare mazes as well, because they're in the towers, there's no like tent or empty show building that you can see. All the ceiling is all like real, so it genuinely feels like, well, in that case it feels like you're in the mines. But you know, and it is really dark, strobe light in attics. Attics probably got more strobes, but there was a section of this where it kind of opens out and there's a lot of strobes going on. So yeah, again, another fantastic one. Now it's time for Daz, which it's going to be a step down, let's be honest. But yeah, two really good classics as well. I mean, these have been here for years, so maybe the last year of them, so that's why I make them the most. Yeah, you know what, it is my least favourite. I mean, the pre-show took ages, but it's not as bad as people say it is. I got Triangle and Flame. I had to find both of them. Now, I found the Flame perfectly fine. Some of them you have to like use interactive features to unlock them, which, well, I found the Triangle so last minute, because you only get 6 minutes, that I was playing the game, the actors were there. The actors are fantastic. It says they touch you, but they didn't touch me. But I do love the outfits. I noticed Granny in there from the Granny horror game. Of course, Daz Games is a horror YouTube, if you didn't know. Like a horror game YouTuber. So you can see the marquee when you're in there, but I didn't notice the Alton Towers poster that's in there that Sean noticed. The exterior is very low budget, but it's alright. There's no theming, it's just fences. It's just like chicken wire fences that you've got to, and curtains you've got to push past. But yeah, so the game I had to play was like buttons and pressing buttons in order that light up red, but I didn't get to finish it on time. But I did find the symbol, so that was good. I did find both of them. But yeah, it's worth doing. Scares are pretty good. I think there was a couple of good jump scares I got in there, so it's not as intense as the other ones. I think the actors should be toned down and it turned into a family maze, because with it being an interactive experience, it fits in a lot better with those two. But it's alright, you know, I've done it. I'll probably if I come again, I'll probably end up doing it because of the combi ticket if it stays to next year. But yeah, you know, there's a lot of strobe lighting, which is good. There's different it's like, since last year there's a virus that's coming, and then eventually the actors of the virus, and then they're eventually guide you out once the switch is off, but they still put the hand right in your face. They don't touch you, but they just put the hand right in your face, especially when you're trying to do the games. But I noticed some people didn't remember that there were games for some of them, so we're like, well, why isn't it working? But if it lights up pink, which it already is pink, but if it lights up pink, it's the right symbol, but you've just got to play a game, so it's alright. It's interactive, it's not really that scary, but yeah, it's worth doing at least once. Yeah, unfortunately, Compound is going to be my final attraction today, because I've only got 12 minutes till I have to go. I've got to leave early, so yeah. Haven't done Subterra for ages, haven't done Galactica for ages. Nemesis I've only done once, but well, I'm going to make the most of Compound because it will be my favourite, my final ride. I don't know if it probably will be my favourite scare maze, but it's the entrance to Compound, so I'll see you when I come out. Oh wow, now that lived up to expectations. I'd heard really good things about this anyway. That is the best one here. That is my favourite scare maze. I mean, I haven't done that many apart from the ones here, if I'm completely honest. But yeah, like the sounds are so loud in there. It's immersive. There's theming. I actually managed to go through the Subterra room with all the eggs. I'm in love with that, honestly. To add that to the Nemesis storyline, fantastic. You know, there's an actor chasing you with a taser near the end. I did manage to get through quite a few different routes in there, because I think there are some things I probably haven't seen, because that's just the nature of that scare maze. there's some bits that you just don't see sometimes. But yeah, the actors like full on grab you in there. Like when they say touch, it's not like Altonville Mine Tours where they just like tap you or whatever. Although sometimes, but there was one where I like pulled open the curtains and there was an actor just stood right there. Yeah, ridiculously intense that one is. I'll try like other things point out in there because so yeah, you get put in a pod and then the doors open. And then you can go whichever way you want, and you are separated from everyone else. Like I was on my own in a lot of the rooms, like completely isolated. You've got like the Nemesis monsters attacking you. In one of the rooms, you've got there's just so much to point out. You get like when I first went through, I got like the actor was like, "Come with me," and I just got pulled into this like prison cell where you're in isolation. So yes, because we're part of Seek the Truth and the Phalanx are not what they seem. Yeah, that is incredible. It does have a bit of a pre-show where the actor shouts at you, like they're proper. Like I think that's what Subterra used to be like back in the day. But I think because it's open all year, they just decided to make it a bit more tame when it reopened. But no, that if you want what Subterra used to be like, I mean I never got to do original, but from what I've heard, I think that's the place to be in Compound this Halloween. Scarefest runs until the 3rd of November, so yeah, definitely my favourite. Altonville Mine Tours I do love though. I mean I've wanted to do that for years, so to finally do that was great, and that's my second favourite. But yeah, Compound, the fact, the actors are just harsh, they take you in, it's so well put together. I really see what Sean means, I'm fully immersed. But that's the thing, I had high hopes because when I first went into Forbidden Valley on opening day, it was like a film set, with the amount of theming and details and obviously all the actors. So in there, it's just the same, it's brilliant, it really is. And then you get chased by a taser and you go through some curtains. There's even more. It just keeps going. It just because it is like a maze in there. It's just incredible. I can't even stop talking about it. But yeah, 10 minutes. I wonder if I'll be able to get that in. Right. Anyway, Compound favourite. Yeah, I can easily. It's easy to rank them, honestly. Yeah, that wraps up the day for Scarefest. So Alton Towers, see you in March. But yeah, I've had a great day. I mean, the Scare Maze is it's mediocre. The others top notch. Yeah, the way I'd rank them: Compound, Altonville Mine Tours, The Attic, Amigos in the Afterlife, Trick or Treat Town, and then Daz Games. But yeah, really good. So they all follow a similar premise, but Compound's got all the different routes you can go. Something I didn't mention during my Altonville Man Tours review, there's like a pre-show in a tent, so you go in and you get batched and then you're in a tent, and the actor, it's sort of like a dungeon sort of thing, so it's done with an actor in there rather than a screen like on Daz Games. But yeah, so the actor, it was the sheriff. He's quite harsh and aggressive, and then it does the thing with, so they've got the strobe lights, and then he gets right in your face and tells you the story of. He says, why are you in this inside that man is a crime scene, but unless you know something about 5 teenagers that went missing. So yeah, it is like an actual crime story in there, and I do love the variety because all the scare mazes are completely different. But yeah, really good day. Opening day was the worst day I've had at Alton Towers. You know what? Today may be the best, or my second after 2021, because I've got a special place for 2021. Riding Nemesis and Hex and becoming an enthusiast. However, of course, today is easily up there, and I think this is just as good. You can see the hearse, I didn't actually film that. But yeah, today is just as good. It's just that obviously I've got a special place for 2021 because it was the day that I became an enthusiast. next time I'll make a vlog, it'll be at another scare event, my second and final one of the year, and that is Hailing Island Fright Nights. So yeah, from Alton Towers, it's goodbye.